Hello, I'm Tara Ruckman.
And I'm Stephanie Howe, and we are Control the Chaos EDU. Are you burnout? Are you feeling frustrated or overwhelmed?
Or maybe it's the opposite and you're a go getter and want to level up. Then it's time to dive in with real talk and solution focused conversations.
Hello, and welcome to today's Control the Chaos conversation. Tara and I just got back from OMLA, and there was some excitement, I feel like, at OMLA. Would you agree, Tara?
Oh yeah, it was awesome. We had so many good presenters there. And man, the introduction, the closing keynotes were fabulous and created all kinds of excitement for sure. Music was pumping, people were dancing, standing up on chairs, like it was like educators were in their groove. They were, bringing joy back to conference instead of back to the classroom. But there was a lot of excitement there.
Yeah, and what was interesting is a lot of conferences have taken a dip since COVID, where attendance has been maybe half to what they're used to. And OMLA, they were able to double it, which was really exciting as well, because I know that's hard to do. And there was a session that I was in, and it was about student engagement, but the teachers had to participate. So it was really funny watching educators participate in this session. But the guy, he wasn't a theater teacher, but he had a theater background. And when you have that theater background, I was like I think of our theater teachers in our school district, and I'm like, they're just fun, right? Like they know how to get students excited. They know how to use that excitement to their advantage. And this guy started to teach us some of these like theater games that you could play in your classroom. And so we had a couple teachers in our district also attend the same session, and he asked for volunteers. And we have a teacher that is very outgoing. Will talk to anybody, who is just so much fun. And she volunteered, and she went up, and it was called Ima is the game. And she goes up there and she's like, I'm a bee. And so then she had to stand up there as a bee. And then another person had to go up there as another character and as another character of this thing. And soon they all had this garden, a fly swatter, and a sun, and some grass, and some rain, to capture this picture of this I'm a bee, where it started. And you could just hear the laughter in the room. Everybody was having so much fun connecting with other educators, and just kind of letting go. Like it was a totally different session, but I emailed the presenter and I just thanked him because it was joyful. Like people were laughing, people were having fun. And I think too, like with that conference, there were just a couple takeaways that I learned. You got to be consistent with your kids. And then the second one was some of our kids need elementary things, even though they're in middle school. And so just having fun with other educators and using the like audience excitement just kept building in that session. And so people just kept getting up because we were just having so much fun. And we were able to see the way that students should do these activities. And then he connected it with like how you could use it in the content. But her I'm a bee, every time I look at her now, that's what I think of. It's like crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about using that student excitement to our advantage. And so, what are some of those different ways that we can use our excitement to our advantage, Sarah?
Well, I think number one is first, we know that there's already some excitement around the holidays, right? So we don't even have to create as much excitement around the holidays because kids are ready. We just have to structure some of that excitement so that we can use it to our advantage and then increase it, right? So that we use it in a structured way that doesn't get chaotic in the classroom. So we're controlling the chaos of the excitement and structuring it in a positive way. So I think planning structured activities around that involve movement. So, how can you get a bowling game, a shuffleboard game, scoots? I know one of typically we see scoots around the walls. We learned at the conference about a scoot game, but it was on the floor where students found different areas of the room that they had to scoot around on the floor. Just so finding some unpredictable ways to like add that excitement, but then keep it structured. So when we think of a gallery walk, maybe we do a project and we're working in groups and we get up and we circle the room looking at other people's projects. Kind of like, Steph, didn't you even talk about that for staff, your pop and go last time? Having that movement, right? As educators, think about sitting in a professional development. Do you want to sit and get the whole time, or do you want it to be interactive where you can participate and talk and ask questions and even move around sometimes? So taking that excitement and just adding that movement to it so that we have those structured activities is a way to like gain control over some of that movement piece, so others aren't roaming around the room, because they do get excited. And when you get excited, what happens? Your heart rate raises. Maybe you get a little bit antsy sitting in your seat. Maybe you want to talk to your friends. So using that piece, those group activities and then that movement to be able to build that into your routine.
Yeah, in one of the sessions at OMLA, I was about to get up and go to another session. Like I had another session highlighted on my paper, but honestly, I was like, I'm too tired to get up and move. So I just stayed in this next session. And I'm so glad I did, because I went away with so many different game activities that the presenter shared. And it was simple things like taking a bowling game and just adding points underneath the pens. And then you just set them up randomly in the kids' bowl and they get whatever points are underneath those bowling pins. Using a shuffleboard, so students are answering questions, and she had like a token for them, a poker chip, and she would give them each a poker chip as they are answering correctly. And then the kids could use those poker chips on their shuffleboard. And at the end of the game, whoever had the most points won. And so she just had so many great ideas that I'm glad I did not get up. She also had like an unfair game, which I just loved, which I think would cause some stress in my classroom though as a teacher. Students would answer questions. They pick a number between like 1 and 40 or whatever, and then they decide if they're going to keep it or give it to somebody else. And these points have maybe positive or negative rewards, and they've got to decide before they open up that card what they're going to do. And so I'm like, that could get really ugly in a classroom. Like, you give that, and then it's like 100 points, and you're like, oh crap, like I should not have made that decision. But it was just fun to hear all of her different ideas to kind of engage your students when it came to different activities that you could use with movement, or just getting them interactive in the learning.
One I liked was the car races. I have not done that before in the classroom, but it's super simple and really requires no like extra planning, right? It's really just a matter of reviewing the rules. But you just take a piece of tape and you put it several long strips of tape along the floor, and you're using it as a review game, or maybe you've just taught a lesson and you're practicing some questions. But you have groups and all of these lines of tape on the floor, and then you have cars at a starting line. So when you get 5 stars on your paper for answering the questions, then your car will move. So the group will work together, answer questions, get it checked off for the teacher, and then be able to get up and move their car. So they're working together, or you can do it singly and have everybody have their own car. So one of the roadblocks, of course, is, well, how many, if I do it singly, that's a lot of cars, right? But you could do, a piece of paper that they move across, they draw their car and they can move it. So the more questions they answer, the faster their car moves. And the goal is to get to the finish line, and the first team or the first individual to get to the finish line then would win the game. So that's just one of the fun ones where kids are working together, they're talking. So it's that structured group activity, because we know that when kids get excited, they want to talk to their friends more. So they're talking and working together, and then they're getting up and down to move their car. So you also add not only the movement in the activity, but you add that peer collaboration and structured time that they're working with their friends.
Yeah, and I often get asked different teachers like about games, like the rules of them. And they're like, do I play it this way or this way? And I'm like, really, you can make up your own rules with any game. So if you have a better idea, I think you should definitely try that out in your classroom. And a lot of times when I see a game going really bad, or I start seeing students get unmotivated, I add a twist. And so that's using that flexibility. And I'm able to say, okay, guys, like now this round, you can swap points, or you can do something. If I see a team that might be at the bottom of the leaderboard, they can get up to the top. So just kind of keep that in mind too, that you don't need to follow the rules exactly, and you always have that flexibility as well. This next idea I absolutely love, that Tara created, and it's PBIS staff bingo. I know we're trying to talk about like using students engagement this round, but I think sometimes we need to start with our staff as well. And so on the link that will be in the show notes, there is a bingo card. And on the bingo card, there's just different things that I think can help with student excitement if you are seeing like a decrease, or you're trying to create some of that positivity. So for example, you have to get 4 corners or so many in a row, just like your normal bingo. And what happens is there might be like a complete a mindful activity. If you do that, you get to mark it off your bingo board. Maybe you had a classroom theme day, or maybe you did something nice for someone else on your grade level team or another team. Maybe you did some gratitude writing or activity. And so again, you're trying to get a bingo, but it's just creating that positive energy for your staff when you're ready to kind of pick up that energy when it's kind of slowly getting a little negative.
Yeah. And that's tough too, right? Around the holidays, you do have, because of the increase in student excitement, you also have an increase of possible chaos. So, of course, one of the things that we want to do when there's possible chaos, right, is figure out ways to control it. So this PBIS staff bingo is increasing that. In turn, even though it's a staff bingo, it's really affecting the students. Adding those team building activities, completing a mindfulness activity. So all of those things directly impact the students. So it is, and you can translate this. If your building does not want to do a staff bingo, you can then do a class bingo. And it could be to, I did an SEL check-in with my teacher. I went a full day with no negative responses to my peers. I completed, so you can flip it around and use it also as a class bingo and control that and use that excitement to your advantage around the holidays time. So this is you can do it any month, but we try to increase that positive incentive and that need for controlling that excitement in December.
Which then brings us to kind of passion projects, or where we're raising different awareness about maybe a problem to solve. This is where maybe you're using like design thinking, or you're having students create and organize maybe different workshops, or developing some type of solution that they can maybe offer to an organization or a community project that's going on. And I love when teachers do these different activities, because last year we had a fourth grade class. It was a huge secret. They were trying to earn money to build a Gaga pit. And what's crazy is these fourth graders, by the time the Gaga pit was created, I think only had a couple of months to use the actual pit because then they were moving to middle school. But it was the impact that they were leaving for other students and their siblings. And so the class, they were so excited about it because it was a class project. They had to brainstorm ways that they were going to earn money in order to buy the supplies, how they were going to advertise it once they were ready to kind of ship it out. And there was just all kinds of different things, how much supplies they would need. So they had to really research and do some math to measure and figure out the supplies that were needed. But the excitement around that project was just fun for students. And I've seen other students do like sucker kind of sales where they have different maybe suckers that students can buy. And every time I see students do a project like that, that they plan out and they organize and they have this community that they're focused on, or this project that they want to help with, they always sell out. I get those emails like, we are sold out, there's no more suckers. And that just brings me joy because the students have worked so hard on the planning piece of a project that they get rewarded by selling out. And it always happens. And I just love that.
And just to feed off what you were saying, I love the Gaga pit. So typically, passion projects are more of an individual project versus a group project. We kind of think of the group project as like a project based learning or a service learning. So that was more of a group passion project because it's really a great way for that group to really show their excitement by something that was like it wasn't really assigned by an expected parent, but it definitely had that creative and determination and like a common goal that was inspiring and exciting to those specific kids. So the other thing about passion projects is we think about that project based learning, but once we go into passion projects, there's also so much value outside of just the learning piece. When you get into high school and the upper levels, passion projects are great for student resumes for college, because they're oftentimes, that is something that, develops valuable skills and supports building confidence and shows that leadership. So, and making a positive impact, that's really what they're all about. So when you have this on your resume as you start this junior high, high school part, that's something that you can absolutely put on those college resumes. And not only does it support the community or the cause that you're working for, but it then increases that uh, piece of self, right? That grows self-esteem with students and helps them feel valued and helps them feel good. It increases self-esteem and boosts kind of their overall health in all reality, because you're creating excitement and inspiring others around good causes. So there's way more value of a passion project than only like that surface level thinking of, we're doing something to help others. It helps yourself. It's valuable for the future. So a lot of good things around passion projects. So going past passion projects, Steph's already touched on a little bit group projects and service projects. The one project she did talk about was kind of a passion project for elementary kids that was group, but looking at service projects, group projects, maybe it's a food drive, maybe it is, supporting tutoring and younger grade levels where high school kids come down and provide academic support for younger elementary kids. There are so many things that you can do. It could be on a broad scale, or it could be something that you could do in a class period or several class periods that you work on.
Yeah, and I think sometimes with group projects, again, thinking about how can you help the students chunk that project down, because I think sometimes they get overwhelmed by all of those little pieces. So again, going back and thinking about those executive functioning skills to help those students break down that project so that way they can get to their end goal is huge. And then the last thing that OMLA, Jack Brickemeyer kind of just reminded us was blow things up. Instead of doing just a movie day or just doing something like that around the holidays, make it fun. Think about different things that you can do, such as blowing things up and kind of engaging your students that way with some positivity too.
Yeah, so some of the roadblocks that we have seen when we start thinking about using the student excitement is that staff get sometimes a little bit nervous because they don't want to be have that chaos in their classroom. Sometimes they struggle with that flexibility piece. So making sure that when we come across these roadblocks, like that's too much, kids are going to be too off task, it's going to be too hard to keep control of them. So we just want to just go back to that planning piece and how can we ensure that we provide the structure. And this is where we can definitely add those executive functioning skills in, where we provide that scaffolding like Steph was talking about. We talk about that emotional control. Okay, so a lot of times what we talk about in emotional control is our students that are struggling and disruptive, where we are teaching them coping strategies to be able to regulate their own bodies from mad to happy. But sometimes we can get overly happy around the holidays, or we have students on the opposite ends that struggle with the holidays. So implementing some of those mindfulness activities or different emotional control strategies within our lessons to support that executive functioning skill. When you get overly happy, that can be a problem too, right? So thinking about how we can add executive functioning skills within all of our lesson planning can help with those roadblocks and maybe decrease that, also in addition to using that structured excitement, but decreasing that chaos around the classroom when you are implementing some of these things that are revolving around creating excitement and joy in the classroom. So this week, your call to action is start thinking about the holidays. Start thinking about not just the holidays, but anytime. How can you use your student excitement to your advantage? What things can you implement in your classroom? Not today, maybe tomorrow, but because we want to make sure that we have that structure around it. But implementing one thing to use student excitement to your advantage. And then again, as always, please like, subscribe, leave us a review. We would love to get your feedback, or even let us know if you have a topic that you want us to share about, and we will support that. All right. Signing off, and until next time, control the chaos.
Thanks for listening to Control the Chaos EDU. Check out the description for show notes.
We look forward to connecting with you on social media. Subscribe to the weekly podcast so you never miss an episode. control the chaos. Until next time.